Welcome to the CTO Focus session, where we this time will dig into the importance of high-performance networks for digitalization of the transportation industry. In fact, I will be meeting with Christian Levin, the CEO of Scania, to talk about the importance of 5G and connectivity to intelligent and advanced transportation systems. So, follow me. Welcome, Christian, to this CTO Focus session. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Erik.
Let's start right away. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you see digitalization's role when it comes to sustainable transportation?
I think we should see it as kind of a glue that is holding the different systems together when we're going from a 150 years old, or at least 100-year-old platform based on fossil, based on very standardized, everyone in the system knows exactly their role and nothing is changing. Into this new platform, this new ecosystem, which is based on non-fossil, so which is sustainable, and where all players have to collaborate in order to do this tremendous change. And when I say players, I think about you supplying the communication, but us supplying vehicles, but also the energy providers and the grid providers, and all software providers around. So without this glue, we will not be able to do this transition.
And since the topic of this talk or this discussion is really sustainable transportation, we have both Scania and Ericsson has been at the forefront when it comes to commitment to halving our emissions by 2030. We have the exponential roadmap work, that is one piece of this. And of course, connectivity, networks, 5G becomes a part of this. So how do you see that the network, 5G now, 4G and soon 5G around the world, and digitalization are helping Scania to achieve your climate goals?
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool. I think when we started in 2011 to standardize on connected vehicles, we didn't have any idea how useful it would be to us. So having it today and looking to the future and our sustainability journey, for us to transition into the battery electric vehicle world, for instance, I'd say it's absolutely crucial to be able to help customers to go from just the specification of the vehicle. A lot of digital support to go from the combustion engine vehicle over to an electric vehicle. In the operations, how to charge, where to charge, how to optimize that, how to get the right price. There's so many questions, there's so much information that needs to flow that before was taken for granted and now it's not anymore. So for us to make that transition, the connectivity and the access to fast data is absolutely crucial. But there are so many other areas. We can talk about autonomous, robotized vehicles, where of course access to communication is absolutely crucial. That's also part of the sustainability journey, of course, as a robot is rather smarter than any driver. But also here now. We use, since we took that decision in 2011 to standardize, we're just finding more and more use cases for where data is adding value. And obviously in R&D, I think that's the first thing people think about. Okay, we use this data in order to make better products, and we do. So in the brand new so-called super driveline that we're launching across the world right now, started last year, a completely new engine, completely new gearbox, completely new rear axle, new aft treatment, and foremost a new engine control system. We used all this knowledge that the data provided to us in the development. But we also use it in sales. For instance, we have a beautiful system where we're funneling down a specification. We call it guided offering. We're funneling down the specification based on data, based on an AI algorithm, so to help the customer and the sales force to propose something that is more efficient than what currently is in use with that customer. We use it to geolocate vehicles in our distribution flow to try to shorten lead times and be more efficient. The list can be very long, and maybe the last thing to say on that is I think from a system optimization point of view, just taking our 600,000 connected vehicles together with our customers, it's just such a source to use in optimizing the flow. Our flows in the transport industry are not very efficient. 40% we transport around is air, and every percentage we can take away is of course a huge step on the sustainability journey. And here digitalization access to data plays an absolute critical role.
And because you were out so early in terms of connecting and digitalizing the whole fleet, I think some of the learnings really would be applicable in other industries as they go through their digitalization journey. But you mentioned a few things that needs to happen as well, and charging battery electric vehicles is one thing. How do you get that in place? There are hurdles that needs to be overcome to be able to unleash this potential of combining digitalization, networking with the transportation sector. Are there other barriers or are there challenges that we really need to work on, perhaps on the regulatory side, on the government side, things that we need to work on together?
Yeah, there are. I mean, there are challenges, there are opportunities, of course. I think from a pure technology point of view, I think we are pretty much there, both Ericsson and Scania. We will have the products. The challenge is on the customer end to see that the system is evolving. And the question we get from customers, of course, I mean, where's my business case? Will I be able to make the same amount of money? I mean, that's partly a regulatory matter. What is the price of electricity? What is the price of diesel? A lot of good things coming from the EU in terms of Fit for 55 package. But more practical stuff, where can I charge? That's always the second question. So how do we make sure that there is green electricity available and available at the point where our transporters needs it? Because it's not good enough to have it in northern Sweden when the demand is at the truck stop in Paris. So that's I think is another hurdle. So I think we need to team up. We need to talk to the legislator to drive the regulatory changes. But then it's talent. I think maybe this is the biggest challenge. How can we continue to attract the best software engineers in the world to run our R&D processes? Today, more than half of all engineers in Scania are working with software.
Amazing.
It's amazing if you just
complete shift over.
Shift from just a couple of years ago, but also in order to do other operations in our company, to run the assembly line. I mean, you need operators that are fairly skilled today in running the tools and machines that we have there in digitalization. So I think that is also, I wouldn't call it a hurdle, but that's a challenge we need to take on.
That's a challenge, for sure. And you already touched upon that charging infrastructure, but I think we've had the discussion, at least in local context, of moving at the same pace when it comes to electrification, charging stations along the transportation routes and digitalization, basically putting 5G along those transport corridors. I think those go very much hand in hand and should be promoted on the regulatory side, absolutely accelerated.
You're absolutely right. And it makes a lot of sense, I suppose, both from a cost point of view, but also from accelerating the system. And actually increase the competitiveness of these countries or these regions where you're able to do that in sync.
Back to your connected fleet and the network that we need to provide to power your business. It started with 4G, actually, in some cases before 4G as well, 3G. Yes. But when we now look at 5G, it's the early days of 5G. We will have more than 1 billion 5G subscription by the end of this year, and vehicles are coming along also when it comes to 5G. But the point is really that 5G is a platform, but we'd also continue to evolve with new features and functionality. We talked a little bit about the importance of coverage, having resilient behavior of the network, having the right latency, bounded latency to be able to do some of the more advanced autonomous cases that you mentioned. All of these things will be a constant evolution. We will continue to add new features and functions onto 5G over the coming years. So how does that work for your business, and how do you see that we need to collaborate to make that happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think we need to continue, as we have already done, I would say, with Scania Ericsson, but we need to change the business logic. We need to go from supplier-buyer discussion into real partnerships, where we are part of several together, so that we can have a much better transparency, what is coming, and so that we can innovate not only on what you supply today, but what you are going to supply in the future. Because otherwise we will be late. So, I mean, from our perspective, we need to jump onto the latest technology in order to be able to develop what we know about, but also, of course, what we don't know about yet. And we cannot take I mean, for us, in the future, I would say that our capabilities around software and how we transform that into customer benefits is going to be the new premium. So we talk not anymore about premium product, we talk about premium customer experience. So we need to find ways of working with companies such as yourself, but also other partners in this ecosystem, where we are much more proactively sharing and working together on what is the next generation and the next generation again.
And if we look at other industries, that's very much the learning when it comes to platform scale. Whether you have global scale in your platform capabilities that can be leveraged and reused in sectors such as the transportation industry, it's super important to be early on the latest technology, but also to put new requirements on the next generation of that platform, because obviously that guides some of the competitiveness of the offering that you want to bring to market. So I think that we are up for it. We absolutely have to do more when it comes to sharing and planning ahead and collaborating, but it's also very much about, as you said, using the latest technology, standardizing on that, making sure that you use 5G whenever and wherever it's possible, because that allows you to innovate on top.
No, I fully agree, and I mean standards have proven to be a winning game in many industries and moving technology development much faster. So that is also important. And when we talk about energy, when we talk about charging, when we talk about the new electric infrastructure.
And there could be new opportunities in that area as well to speed up that part.
There must be.
There must be. Great discussion, Christian. I want to summarize it a little bit for the viewers here. First one, really a great takeaway for me to learn a few more things. I think we've had a partnership for a very long time, but it's really about that partnership. We can build better products for our customers and for the networks. Working hand in hand with a leader such as Scania is hugely important for our telecom industry, but also for Ericsson, so big thanks for that. It's also about the criticality of networks and connectivity for Scania's business. The fact that you were so early and that it's infused in everything you do, internal processes, the goods and the services that you deliver, and of course the bigger change in terms of sustainability. All of this really seems to sort of come together with networking and connectivity. But then there are some challenges. Managing the transformation of electrical or electrification and digitalization at the same time. We share some of those pain points, but I think we can also work together on some of the regulatory side there. And then also, since this was really about sustainable transportation and the importance of bringing this to the forefront, mitigate climate change, but it will not happen unless we do it with the latest technology. And I think that's a great ending, I think, of this talk. So thanks a lot,
Great
Christian.
Summary.
Thank you,
Erik.
Thank
Thanks.
you. I'm standing here with my colleague Mats Pellbeck-Sharp. Very welcome.
Thank you.
You listened in to the discussion I had with Christian. So what's your take on the discussion and what we need to do?
I think one of the key elements and my key takeout is the need for horizontal platforms and a standard for this to be able to scale fast. And we need to scale the transition to a sustainable transport system very fast. And I think the need to do that is extremely important for Scania, but it's also important for Ericsson. So I think, I mean, if you think about the charging system where there are differences between different countries or between different manufacturers, it will become a total mess. They have to all speak the same language.
And he was very clear on that they have the ambition to be part of such a platform thinking. They are making their own changes, but also this is for the whole transportation system. This is for basically everyone to collaborate. So he was very much talking about the need to collaborate to create these platforms. I think that was a key takeaway. When we think about our own journey, Ericsson's journey towards net zero and the sustainability actions that we've already taken, what's your reflection and thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Christian talked about their net zero journey and the need to halve emissions by 2030 and already by having targets by 2025 and so on. So I think it is the same journey that we have. In fact, we are both very, very far ahead of most companies in the world, I would say, when it comes to our net zero journeys, taking net zero targets, having them sort of first targets approved by Science Based Target Initiative, which is unique for a truck company. But it was unique when we took it some years ago in Ericsson for a telecom company as well. So I think we are both front runners. And if front runners agree and drive things, then I think we can create a fantastic evolution. And our journey on being net zero by 2040, we are well on track on reaching that. So we are really gearing up towards that.
And that's for our own products and supply chain and also the use in the field. And I think that's so important now because now 5G and the digital infrastructure is underpinning reductions in all other sectors. In fact, we've seen that as much as 15 to 20% of the global emissions can be reduced by 2030 by using digital technologies such as 5G. So I think also that's a good evidence, good testament that we are well on the way to use the latest technology to decarbonize and create a sustainable transportation system as well. Great, thanks a lot, Mats, for sharing this, and I think we're done with that. Thanks. In this CTO Focus session, we have discussed the importance and the role of 5G and digitalization in sustainable transportation, and that discussion was held with the CEO of Scania. So thanks for watching.